throw my hand at it.
Good evening, everybody. We are here at the museum, Wilson County Historical Society and Museum, and Emma Kreitz is going to tell us about Camp Cauble, which used to exist here in Wilson County and was a great place. So I'm anxious to learn all about it, and I bet you are too.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
I'm not the only one who lived next to Camp Cauble when I was about like this. Carol did too, so we may get to share some things here that I didn't know. And I'm just going to read what I researched for you. So it was started as a scout camp located 3 miles east of Benedict, and it became a reality in the spring of 1928 after several businessmen at Chanute became interested enough in the Boy Scout movement to ask what steps they needed to take to provide the community with organized scouting such as had been carried on for years in the larger cities. Within a few months in the year of 1926, 8 troops were established in the 4-county area with a total scout population of 130 boys.
Wow.
The program would continue with this number until the spring in 1928 when W.A. and his son W.H. Cauble generously offered to give for camp purposes a tract of land on their farms east of Benedict. This property was the location of the gas well that supplied the city of Chanute with its first residential service in 1897.
Isn't that interesting? My goodness.
Chanute. Wow.
Yeah. Of course, Chanute at that time, I think, was still 4 little towns. So, I don't know whether that's a mistaken identity calling it Chanute or not. The building of the camp was stimulated by the offer of Henry Wolfe of the Monarch Cement Company of Humboldt to furnish cement delivered to the grounds for construction of a General Assembly Lodge, with Rex Singleton of Benedict agreeing to furnish all the dimensional material. And this is a picture of the Assembly Lodge. I'll just pass those around. Construction started early in April of 1928 by building a road into the campsite. And you went up a steep hill to get up there, and how far was it back to that? Was it a quarter of a mile?
Oh, maybe.
About to the entrance into Camp Cauble. You went back through the pasture and dropped
Down
back
another
down in
hill.
the valley. Lots of trees and such there. The construction, well, I think I read you that. Anyway, a spring was harnessed to supply water for camp use. Various communities and organizations became interested enough to build cabins, and 10 cabins to house the scouts overnight were erected that summer. Something different was the aim of CCAN area scout leaders, and they sponsored a camp that was known all over the entire nation for its individuality. A regional scout headquarters staff member described it as a camp with soul. Perched on a bluff commanding the whole campsite was an old feudal castle on here it's called Legion Castle. You had to cross a bridge to get into the campsite.
Greetings. Thanks for joining us.
Have a seat.
I'll get comfortable.
And be sure and sign the book before you go out. The only time I was ever at Camp Cauble, we got to go through all those buildings, and I remember that the bridge was already rotted out, and we had to go down in the alley and climb back up. was a 6-foot drawbridge. It contained only the one room and was the only building not in the valley. Below the castle was an outstanding contribution to early American life, an old adobe hut reminiscent of the Zuni Indians. And this was built by Chanute, Fredonia Yates Center, and Iowa Kiwanis clubs, and used as the administration headquarters. It cost $200.
Some.
Across the valley, nestled among the tall trees, was an old English cabin. And we don't have a picture of that one. And nearby was the little church in the Wildwood. It served as a place for the scouts to retire to read and write home, and it was also the chapel. This was built by D.C. Diver of Chanute. The little red schoolhouse of our early pioneers was built for use as sleeping quarters and was equipped with a school bell as well as initials carved in the door. It was a gift of the Chanute Rotary Club. Close by was the old Dutch colonial cabin. And was given by the 4-H clubs of Neosho and Allen counties. And further along was a modern American bungalow. The Assembly Lodge was the largest building, and that was the first one I showed you, on the site. General assemblies were held about the huge fireplace built of stone of historical interest from all over the world. The site was said to be a former Osage Indian reservation. Well, the whole area was Osage Indian reservation, where tribes held their council fires years before. And there were different groups of the Osages, so that they had campfires for counseling all over this area. The summer campsite was at Neosho. The spring came out of a cliff high enough above the campsite that a complete water system could automatically feed a fountain made by the Chanute Rotary Club. The kitchen and the toilets. A large swimming pool, take that with a grain of salt. In my estimation, it wasn't a very big swimming pool.
I've got pictures of it.
We've got one here. It looks big, but it really wasn't all that big, and it was deeper than the public pool.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the picture you have?
No.
You have a different one?
Now I've lost my place. The swimming pool was constructed as a memorial to an Eagle Scout, Glenn Donald Fink of Fredonia, who died a few months before the pool was built. He was the son of W.G. Fink, and that was Fink Abstract Company that was on the south side of the square. Mm-hmm. Later, it would not retain enough water above half full, and they finally abandoned using it. They had to, finally, because there wasn't enough water. Later, an earthen dam was built so that the scouts could practice canoeing. Girl Scouts and 4-H youth also shared the use of the camp. By the summer of 1929, there were 53 troops serving 10 counties, with a total of 883 Boy Scouts. The camp received heavy usage during World War II. Now this is one cabin that we don't have any name for. We're not sure whether that was the modern cabin or what it is, but that was one of them. By the summer of 1929, no, I gave you that. The camp received heavy usage until World War II. Then in the 1950s, the camp was closed. The site returned to private ownership, and Camp Cauble today is off limits to the public. Do you remember a summer picnic there in about 1944? What was that all about?
I think it was just a neighborhood.
Just a neighborhood get-together.
get-together.
Right shortly after the camp was built, they ceased allowing the public, parents and all, to use the camp because they would leave there with baskets full of ferns and flowers, and they just stripped Mother Nature out of Camp Cauble. So no more family picnics. In 1941, the camp was valued at $25,000 as a result of the $11,000 in improvements. In 1956, do you remember 1956? You might. Don't think any of the rest of you.
Yeah.
Just a babe.
Oh, it's hot that summer. The spring nearly went dry and ceased entirely in 1957. So in 1957, they decided not to hold camp there, and that was about the end of it. In 1959, it was sold to Dewey Glasgow. And in 2022, Michael Capps, who lives in Arkansas, bought the property, but you can't tell where Camp Cauble is by driving by anymore unless you knew, like we did, early on where it was. It was, like I said, 3 miles east of Benedict, and it's right straight east of where Steve Miller lives. Down over the hill. And you guys lived around the edge of the hill, and we lived all around on Doc Baby's ranch.
And where did you live, Emma, from Doc Davies' place?
Yeah, in 1944.
At Doc Davies' place?
Mhm.
Okay.
That was before Doc and Bee moved there?
Yeah, they came out to the cabin. We lived on around the hill to a house and a
Okay.
beautiful big barn back
Okay,
there.
okay.
Did it say anything about the log cabin? My dad and grandpa built a log cabin there at the camp.
It said something about it, but we don't have a picture of it.
Well, I've got just the remains of it after
Oh.
it burnt.
Okay.
When did it burn?
I have no idea.
Sometime after the camp closed?
I'm assuming so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We went over there, I was pregnant with Seth and he's 30, and there you could still see the remains of like some of the pool and maybe one other building. I can't remember what building it was.
I was hoping there'd be a picture of the mess hall. Do you remember the mess hall?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
the roof of it more or less, not the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had
The
a
first
great,
picture, the very first picture.
Yeah.
was the
great
mess
big,
hall.
gorgeous fireplace.
Yeah,
That same mess hall.
there was a plaque inside that told where a lot of those stones came from.
So were all those
Yeah.
buildings kind of built around the same time, the castle and all of them, were they?
The castle was up at the top of the hill,
Uh-huh.
and then the rest of them were just down around. There was a slight curve in the hill there, and the swimming pool and the mess hall were down in the very bottom, but the rest of them were up on the hillside.
Do you think they all originated at about the same time?
It tells me in the information that 10 of them were built in 1928.
Wow.
Okay.
So I would say most of it was. There were contributions, small contributions made along at times, but nothing commemorative.
So, from the pictures, the castle is totally stone. And so some
So,
entity
yeah.
came and put that castle together. I mean, it say who built the castle?
Yes,
And the other buildings were, they were wooden structures, most of them, with some concrete.
The Pueblo building would have been different construction.
Right, it showed. yeah.
It was stone that was stuccoed.
Okay.
The American cabin was built of tile and brick.
As you were going down the hill, going to down toward the mess hall, off to the right, up on the side hill, was a concrete, it just looked like a platform with a fireplace in one end of it. And I don't know whether they just used that for a gathering place.
Outside
or
in the
what.
summer, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your pictures of Mom?
I can imagine what the mosquitoes were
yeah.
like there.
Oh, and copperheads
Yes, I
with-
saw
with-
copperheads when we were
with all
there.
of those
And
rocks
scorpions.
and everything. And it wasn't anything
The full
unusual
camping
to have
experience.
somebody knock on the door in the middle of the night, and because they didn't have a phone over there, and they would come over to our house and call if somebody had gotten bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
When somebody gets sick
Mhm.
or broke something.
Yeah.
Snake bit or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The pictures I have are just snapshots.
that's what these were.
Of the castle and
So the entrance is, there used to be, were there not pillars at the,
Yes.
on the road?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
That went, that indicated where the camp
They were,
road was?
they curved
Yeah, they did,
inward.
didn't they? Yeah, it was more than just a pillar,
It
it
was
had a.
rock, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
rock wall
Mhm.
with pillars on either end.
Mhm.
And it said Camp Cauble on one of them.
Yeah, and that is gone now, you're
Yeah.
saying. Oh.
and I think here that's going down into they had bathhouses there at the swimming pool. And I think that's down to it.
Well, the roofs were starting to leak, I think,
Mm-hmm.
before they finally gave up having scout camp there.
I can't imagine, I mean, it was the number of towns and, tribes, scout troops and.
And the fireplace.
Attended there, my
And
goodness.
it took a lot of volunteer work to keep that
Oh,
place
I would
going.
think so. I would think so. And I don't know what, and it may have been is the castle still there? Is it still? But there's one of us, it would be a bluff, and the rock has split. I mean, it's got a nice big chasm where it has split away from the, but that was, my goodness, last time my aunt and I were down there on our horses it had to be in 60s, like 64, 65, something like that when I was down there.
So were Caubles a prominent family over in that area?
Was it W.H. that was the senator or the congressman? Congressman.
I don't remember.
Youth administration, that was another question I see here.
And
Go ahead.
did he live in Benedict or just over in that area?
Question was asked, was it CCC or WPA, but I see it was the National Youth Administration, the NYA, that work project in 1939.
I've seen that NYA mentioned several times, and all I ever see is NYA. I have no idea what it means.
National Youth Administration.
Okay.
Work project. So there was a government project attached to it.
Would that have been during the Depression or no?
30, does that say 39?
Yeah, I can't tell.
When that was going on, my folks had pigs.
Uh-huh.
So we got all the stuff that was
Oh,
left
that you
over.
did.
The
Yeah.
scouts would bring over the stuff that was left over from meals for our pigs.
Yeah.
Bet your pigs were excited.
Your pigs were happy campers.
Yes, they were.
We had dairy cows, they had no interest in it.
So where did the bridge go to? From the castle to what's over
Yeah,
here?
it's just ground.
Okay, yeah. That looks like quite a drop.
It was pretty deep.
And it was, of course, close enough. I could just walk over there and snoop and explore and stuff. And I got over there one time, and my dog had been with me, but he went off and left me. And then I got to thinking. Now, Grandpa told me that he thought some escaped convicts had stayed over there at some point in time. So I got scared. So I thought, I'll go in the church, and I'll say a prayer, and God won't let anything happen to me. I opened those doors, and an owl flew out. Right my hair. I turned around and went home.
That was God telling you.
Girl, you go home.
Maybe owls have an affinity for churches. I was at the Presbyterian church practicing for a funeral, and I was just playing, practicing away, and then all of a sudden, hoot! I heard him lots of times after that, and he didn't scream.
In the bell. Was he in the chime room, or was the owl? You don't.
He was, let's see, he was on this end of the church,
Okay.
and the belfry was on the other
Okay.
end, so he wasn't in it.
Oh.
He just perched up there on the roof somewhere.
Any other Camp Cauble stories?
For questions?
How much land did the whole camp encompass? Do you have any idea?
They bought land again in 1951, I think it was, and that included the whole little quarter section that the Caubles had owned there. I think it was 170 acres or yeah, something like that. To start with, it was only 17.
Okay.
Anything else? Well, thank you all for coming.
We appreciate you being here. Spread the word. We're going to be doing this every third Wednesday, so different topic.
Thank you for your research.
I'm not sure what our topic's going to be next time, but it'll be something interesting, something historical. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.